Hello there, and welcome to the I Never Knew podcast, also known as Inc. This show dives into the life experiences of people who have been through it all and have come through the other side stronger, better, and triumphant. Each story is raw, authentic, and, at times, heartbreaking. One thing joins it all together: the fact that the stories can help the listener learn and grow. Hosted by life coach Maureen, she sits down each episode with a new guest who will empower the listener to set out on their self-discovery journey and start to heal. Now you'll be joined by Maureen and her special guest. Please enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, my fantastic listeners, to another episode, this week's episode of I Never Knew But My Dog Did podcast. As always, I love you for being here, and I love my guest for being here. Today is extra special. When I saw my next guest, I just knew it was someone that had to come into my presence, and we had to have this conversation. Now, I'll warn you, this is a 18 and over conversation. This is between adults and humans experiencing what is absolutely, in my mind, normal and natural, but some people are very uncomfortable with the subject and sometimes find it taboo. If that is you, then you can go ahead and skip to next week, but I think you're going to miss out. So today I have the most fantastic guest ever, and I hope I don't say her last name incorrect, but it's Lyuba Venable. Is
very close? Venable.
Oh, Venable. Yes. Lyuba Venable. And you'll hear her beautiful accent. It's so sexy. So Lyuba is a coach, a trainer, and a public speaker. Through her open and vulnerable speaking style, Lyuba leaves audiences inspired, open to honesty, and interested in new possibilities. Having learned from Master Montauk Chia, Charles Muir, Somatica, and the Human Awareness Institute, Lyuba marries multiple disciplines together on her online workshops, with topics ranging from sex communication to energetic orgasms. Whoop, whoop. Participants have a safe, confidential space to share, explore, and learn how to create a juicier sex life and a deeper connection with self. And I'm going to add a fun fact in here for my listeners who do not know me personally. Had I not become a life coach, my dream was to be a sex therapist. So I know, I know. You see the alignment and why I was like, there's my girl. So without further ado, everyone, welcome my new BFF, Lyuba. Hi.
Oh my God. Oh, Maureen, I feel like I'm on a big stage. You know, your announcement is so powerful.
You are, because my listeners are so appreciative of honest, raw, real life conversations and things that pertain to us. And I think we're so shied away from having these raw conversations about sexuality. And you and I talked offline, and we have something very much in common. So on I Never Knew podcast, what we do is we start with your knee story. So your knee story is basically sort of, you know, that moment or moments in your life when you weren't who you are now, but you knew you were in there and things had to change. So tell us about how you got to where you're doing what you are now and some of those knee stories that you experienced.
Oh, I love the knee story. This is just, like when you're on your knees almost, right? Oh, and what comes to my mind that I remember I was like 22 or 23 and I had my first marriage. We had this like beautiful house. We had a car. We lived in Ukraine. In Ukraine, it's like, you know, like not everyone has a car. So it was very cool. And I had a good job. I worked in software industry. And everything, if you look at us, like everything looks beautiful, like perfect family, job, husband, you know, great, everything great. But then inside, emptiness. right? And feeling, is this that's life about? Is that's all it's about? Like, is there something more, or am I crazy? I have all of these sins. Why I am not just happy, deeply satisfied person?
Oh, I love that. And I don't want to interject yet, but I don't want to interrupt you. But that's so profound what you just said, because you had what was perceived as a perfection of marriage, the car, the stuff, the house, and everything's just wonderful. And we do this a lot in life. We think from the outside, everyone looks in and sees us as this perfect life, but yet we feel guilt because we're feeling something is lacking and unfulfilled. So thank you. That is a really good point to drive home. So what do you think was missing for you? What was unfulfilled inside?
Yeah, so that the intimacy was missing, that for me, I grew up not knowing what intimacy is. I never seen my parents being intimate with each other. Like, they had sex, like not in front of me, right? But like,
well,
but
we
like,
know because you're here, so we know they had sex. I always say that. I know my parents had sex 3 times because they have 3 children.
Yeah, at least. But see, like, the closeness that so many times, and this is what, like, how you say, what I didn't know that now I know, right? That intimacy and sex are different scenes. So with my ex-husband, I so wanted to cuddle and to, like, I loved him dearly and I wanted to get close. And every time we have something like that, it leads to sex. And sex I wasn't enjoying. It was just, I just was not enjoying it, And so I was craving that intimacy, that I am with the person that I dearly love, but then there was this weirdness about not wanting to have sex.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right. Listeners, hopefully you know this, intimacy and sex are 2 different things, but when they come together, it's life changing. And it's like, that's when you get the fireworks and the shooting stars. And I, as well, in my first marriage, we were giggling because I was like, it was my duty. And she had answered a question. Lyuba had answered a question on my questionnaire where she said during her first marriage, when she decided that sex is not for women and nothing felt like it was bringing joy or satisfaction. And I, for the same thing, got divorced, when I was 29. So for those first 30 years, I in no way thought I was supposed to enjoy sex. And I faked orgasms and I just thought I have to do this. And he would even, if I wouldn't be in the mood or I wouldn't want to, he would call me names. He would degrade me and he would say, you're a prude or you're, whatever. And it's like, that could not have been more far from the truth. I wrote in my book, My Dog is My Relationship Coach, 90% of seduction happens outside of the bedroom.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Oh my God. I so agree with that, because and I want just like to add a little caveat that, like, how you say intimacy and sex, that when they together they feel amazing. And I agree with that for me, and it sounds like for you and for many people. And as a sex coach, I know that it's not true for everyone. So I just want to, like, not to out those people who are listening and thinking, because there are people that they prefer sex to have, like, not emotionally attached. And it goes from it's not something we choose. It's like our desires, our turn on, it developed in our childhood, right? So for some people, they want to have intimacy. We all crave intimacy, and they want to have closeness when it's not sexual, but then sexual to have it more casual, to more like that it's like newness, like novelty. So that's fine, and that's totally okay. It's just for many women and for many people in general, I come across that it feels great to bring them together. And so to answer your question, for this seduction outside the bedroom, oh my God. where to only begin, because as I started learning about female sexuality, it blew my mind that I didn't know so much about myself. Like like women need 40 minutes. I say at least 40 minutes to warm up. That foreplay has to be 40 minutes, sometimes longer. And I used to feel that something wrong with me, that like, oh, my partner is hard and ready to go. I have to be there. That if it takes me a long time, that like, oh, I'm not sexual, or something is not working very well. Right? And learning that women are like water and men like fire. Again, there are exceptions, but for most of us, that it takes longer to warm up a woman, but then she lasts longer. Man is ready right away. The moment they see, they feel attraction, they ready, and then they last not as long unless they do work on themselves. So for that, like how you say, starting even before, just like hearing some like we call it teasing, like with my husband, when we have a date, we schedule dates because we have two kids, and if we didn't schedule our dates, we would never have sex, even we love it so much.
Yeah.
So on that day when we have our date, we would tease each other that like I'm working, he's working, and so I will just like come and like kiss him passionately, and the moment he's like all, I'm like, okay honey, see you later. And then he will come, like he will just like pull my hair and like whisper something in my ear and like touch my back. And it's very important to start it slow, that we don't go into this like touching breasts, touching genitals for women. Right, that like if someone goes right into my breasts, I'm like, no, 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 no. It has to be arms, like slowly warming up, and then at some point I'm ready for my breast to be touched, right? So we do that teasing, and so when we do teasing, then when we do have sex, it's so much more colorful, orgasms are stronger, it feels more like connecting, it's so much better.
Oh, I love that so much. And that keeps the fires alive. And even if it's not going to lead to sex, just having that every day, making your partner feel desired and having that affection. Of course, when it comes to love languages, men, 99%, 95% of them, really, their love language is affection. And women, as such as myself, I forget. I not that I'm not attracted to my husband, but I forget to be affectionate, not just because it's not at the top of my love language. So I love the teasing and the playfulness. And I always say you got to turn my mind on before you can turn my body on, because the scheduling part, and this is something as a relationship coach myself that works with couples who sometimes the biggest thing is it's either finances, children, parenting, or sex that usually cause that breakdown in a marriage. And I tell people the same thing: schedule it. I don't have small kids at home. I have a grandson, a teenage grandson, but because it's not the forefront of my mind to have sex every single day. And my husband, he's super patient, and he'll say, well, let's, he will be like, cause we both work from home, and he'll say, hey, you want to have sexy time? And I'm like, you should have caught me 4 hours ago. Cause now I'm already in work mode. Now I'm already in chores. And so by scheduling it, or saying, hey, tomorrow morning, my mind is now ready. My mind is like in sexy mode. My mind is like, okay, I'm completely focused. So there's nothing wrong with scheduling it. And I know people will probably poo-poo this idea because spontaneity is great, but you can have the spontaneity even with scheduling. Don't you think so?
Yeah. And I want to add that this is like expecting spontaneity. I have a hard time saying being spontaneous. Here we go.
Expectant spontaneity.
Yes, that I will not try to repeat it. You're the master here of saying that word.
You know 2 languages, so you're way far ahead of me. Okay, so you get a curve. You get a big curve for that.
Thank you. So why that happens when we start a relationship? We have new relationship energy. or it's known as NRE, or it's called honeymoon phase. When we have hormones are playing, it feels like on drugs. We want to have sex all the time, and everything feels good. Touching elbow feels amazing, just touching cheek. It's like nothing has to be spiced up or brought up because the hormones are so strong. We are having this constant desire, right? And then usually it lasts from 6 to 2 years, so 6 months to 2 years. So after the NRE is done, mistakenly, a lot of couples hope that it will be the same, that it will be, if I love this person, it will be the same for the whole life. And then that spontaneity is
Applause button. Do I have an applause button?
it doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Because the NRE is done, but it doesn't mean that I don't love person. It's just like, and that's partially why we want to schedule dates. Like we want to prioritize sex. But there is another important thing that I bring up when I work with couples, that the core desire, that in somatica method, they talk about core desire, that it's a feeling that every person has, that when that feeling while having sex, if I experience that feeling, I'm having the best sexual experience. And that core desire, it developed when we are little children. So depending what we are going through, what our experiences, then later when we are having sex, it's either resolution. Let's say maybe I was ignored as a child and now I want to be accepted, celebrated. It feels like resolution, and it's a very deep, satisfying experience that I usually say when I have that in sex, orgasm doesn't matter anymore. It just feels so good, right? Or it can be repetition with agency. Maybe I had something as a child, I had, maybe I was ignored or I was humiliated, and I might want to feel it in sex, and that's okay. Like different desires, different fetishes come up, and this is what I do a lot with my clients, right? Like de-shamifying, removing shame, that you don't choose it. Anything that you want sexually, just find safe environment to play it, to bring it in, right? So when we have that core desire met, this is when we don't need NRE anymore. We don't need the new relationship energy. We don't need the hormones. We find that really good feeling, that feels so satisfying, that like fireworks. And so for me, for example, what I discovered is feeling special. Feeling special is a core desire of mine. And so when we figured it out, now my husband will do certain things that make me feel special. And that's just, when I have that's like the best sexual experience.
Oh, all of that, I just want to unpack so many things. I love the core desire idea, and my favorite word now, and I'm going to make this probably in the title, the de-shamifying. Do you think a lot of our hang-ups and fetishes and things that are unusual or people would consider unique in sex, that isn't the norm? I don't think there is a norm, in my opinion. I think whatever feels good for you should be your norm. But do you think a lot of the negative stuff, the negative feelings from our childhoods carry over into our sex lives, and it really affects people's the couple's sex lives?
So it does. And like the whole, what I learned when I was in training for sex coaching, that the important things to do is to accept what is there, remove shame from it, and find a safe environment to experience it, right? So it can be fantasy. If I have a partner who is willing to play that with me, that's right. That's like for a lot of women, when we have daddy issues, then we might want to feel like our partner is daddy. And it's not that I want to have sex with my dad, but there is something that like I want to feel that someone like I fantasize that it's a daddy who wants me so much that and accepts me so much, that ready to have sex with me, right?
Right.
So that, there is a lot of shame about it, but then just removing shame and finding, like when partner is willing to play that role and to step into it, and then it feels so deeply satisfying, and that's beautiful. Like any fetishes, right? Like how we like the child abuse, the child molestation, that's such a sad part that happens. And I believe, I don't know, I didn't do research, right, but I believe that if we didn't have shame, if we allowed people who have those like the desire to do something sexual with kids, if they could play it with a partner, like to wear these like ponytails and to play it with adults with consent and to live that desire, then that we would not have harm. Because sexual energy is so powerful. When we, let's say, person has the desire and they feel shame, they put it down, and then one day it's just like boom, they can't control it.
And I think it's very similar to any trauma, that if it's suppressed, it has to come out in some way. And like you said, for those who have, maybe that child abuse or that child molesting, those thoughts, or they were abused, it's having those healthy outlets. And the foundation is trust with a partner to be able to be yourself. So what do we do? What do we do if you have a partner who wants to explore unique and different things that are outside of the box, and you have another partner who's very sort of rigid in it has to be a certain way? How do you work with couples to be open-minded and to experiment? What would you tell our listeners who are experiencing that? Like, for instance, maybe a threesome, or maybe a little spanking or something like that, in a healthy way with the partner that you love. How do we help our listeners, or help your client? How do you help your clients to get them both to the sort of same page of satisfaction?
Yeah. That's a wonderful question, because a lot of times working with couples, that the desire one person has and desire another person has, a lot of times they don't match. They right, like how you say that one person is more conservative, another one wants to explore. But even when both want to explore, a lot of times it's like, oh, I want this scene and I want something completely like that is not matching, right? So then I'm working on helping them to bridge, to find, just getting into that, how do we meet, right? Like how do we bridge it, that we find that place where we get creative and it works for both, right? So that's one approach. There is role play. If people are into role play, right, they could role play, even, let's say, maybe it's not my desire, but I would role play, and when I see my partner turned on, it's just so hot for me that I will play something that is even not mine, but just seeing them turned on. For some people, being authentic is so important that they can't role play, and that's totally fine. Having fantasy, that like a lot of times just fantasizing and like just going through it in the head, that can be very powerful. So that's another aspect that helping mind to bring it. And then opening up relationship, like how you said, threesome is one. It's like a one-time option. There are couples who just in agreement that, like, let's open a relationship and let's have other partners, and that works great as well. It's just important that the couple, the primary partners, have very solid foundation, that they're going out there, they're looking for other partners to meet certain need, but not like that they have zero sex, or like sex is horrible and then they go somewhere and that's how relationships are falling apart. That the foundation has to be here, and I go out there to just meet like this need, that need, but it's not that I don't have anything and I go there looking for everything.
Right.
Then it resolves in a disaster.
Exactly. And I think what's most important is that you have clear lines and clear understanding of the expectations, or the so-called rules. In other words, if a partner is willing to try something new, but then all of a sudden they're feeling triggered or uncomfortable, they have to be able to say, I can't do this. We need to stop. There has to be this level of non-judgment and this level of no shame, and taking it just little baby steps at a time is really important. Just saying, hey, can we just try this little thing, and see how we like that. And then, like, a blindfold or handcuffs. I know, a lot of couples just, experiment. I mean, Valentine's Day, I think handcuffs are like one of the biggest sellers. It's just do one little thing and then see that comfort level and then move past. So the person who feels not as comfortable with exploring can get to that level. And then the partner who wants the more exploratory things can bring them to understand this is a safe space, and whatever happens here between us, you're safe, and I respect whatever your wishes are. Because the minute it's not fun, it's the whole point of it is moot, right?
Yeah. And it just, I just want to say that it's terrifying for couples to talk about these things. This is what I come across, right? It's very scary because somehow we think that, we have a lot of people have sex in one position, they reach orgasm one way, and it's like that for 20 years, right? And they're like, no wonder it's not fun. Right? But then there is fear to, and I know it, I've been in that place, there is fear to bring it up because my partner might be like, oh, I know you, I'm your husband, or I'm your wife, I know all about you. But we are changing, like our preferences change. Something I didn't know about myself a week ago, and now I know that, that really turns me on, right? So to just be able to come to a partner and say, you know what, like I want to try this new scene, but then to not be afraid that they will take it personally, and that partner will feel like, like I'm not satisfying you, like that's a big trigger, right? Like, I don't satisfy you. It's not about that. It's about exploring, right?
I love that you said that. And one of the things that I experienced a lot in couples that, have had issues in that department was, bringing in toys and stuff. The man, would feel inferior and like, this makes you, this helps you have an orgasm better than me, or this thing. And it's like, no, there's no replacement for you. You're the human, you're the intimacy, you're the partner. Don't be insecure because of something that's helping her get even more ready and excited for you. Which brings me to how we can have a better orgasm and how important you think it is to share and communicate those wants. The fact that you said something last week might have worked and this week something new. We ebb and flow. Our energy changes minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. So I'm happy that you said that. So how important is it that we make our needs met or understood, how that we communicate those to have a better either orgasm or just intimate relationship, sexual relationship altogether?
It's so important, Maureen. Oh my God. It's crazy important because you're talking about orgasm, more sexual needs, which are super important. We have needs in relationship. We have needs which are not sexual, like to feel a certain way, to have trash being taken out. Like I realized when my husband doesn't take out trash, I feel not loved. And every time he picks it up and he takes it out, I feel so loved.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna step in with the life coach moment. You are an acts of service, girl. That's it. Like, take the garbage out and you and I are gonna have hot sex tonight. I love it. It's so true though. There is where outside of the bedroom, that's the whole point, is make me feel loved outside of here. And then we carry it over here. And I need to have that safe space to say to you, it's and ego sometimes comes into play. And men, I'm not picking on you, but I am kind of picking on you because your ego is in a fragile box. If a woman says, don't do this, please do this, it has nothing to do with you. There's no way for you to know how she feels, how her body feels. And like you said, day to day, it could change. So do not, listener men, I love you so much. Do not be offended when your woman actually be honored that she's sharing with you and willing to be honest with you about this feels good, this doesn't feel good. When you don't take the trash out, I don't feel loved. When you take the trash out, I feel loved. That's when we can have that honesty, you're more loved, I think. What do you think?
Yeah. And I don't want to skip orgasm. So I'm like parking this thought about communication, because it's important how we communicate. That's a biggie. Like how I say that communication is lubrication, that when we communicate well, it makes everything better, all areas of life, and it helps in sex tremendously. So that's like that's how we communicate is important. And then talking about orgasms and like having those needs, having desires, and bringing them up, I think the very important scene is self-love, as well known as masturbation. That there is this societal thought that if you're married, if you have a partner, you should not masturbate, that only losers masturbate because they don't have a partner. I think masturbation is time with me. It's my self-pleasure. It's time me with me. And then when I explore myself, I understand myself better, and then I can come to my partner and I know what to ask for, right? Because a lot of times it's like, oh, I want something, but who knows how to get there. When I self-explore and when I play with myself and I have those times that are me, I have candles, I play music, I lay out my toys, and then I have so much fun with just me. And then I show up as a better lover when I'm with my partner, you know?
Yes. Yes. It's on the same level as your mental and emotional health, where we tell you, hey, meditate, spend some time doing things you're passionate about, take care of yourself, have some downtime, go do things for you. This is the same idea, guys, as on a physical level. And like you said, it really cuts down that time in the bedroom with the partner, because now you can direct them. I mean, think of it this way. Your body is a roadmap, and you want your partner to get to a destination, but you don't want him to take all the windy roads and the back roads, and you want to really teach them where the destination is. And it is kind of fun taking the windy roads, and I'm just saying we can add those windy roads in, but at least you know where the destination is, and they are more clear where the destination is.
Yes. And then how to communicate, right? That a lot of times I hear from my clients that, oh, I was going down on my partner, and then she said, that feels horrible. Like, I don't like it. And then it's such a turn off, right? Then it feels like, oh my God, I can't get it right? So it's hard to hear critique in general, but in the bedroom, we are especially sensitive. So the way how to communicate that, let's say I'm laying there and my partner is going down on me and I'm not enjoying, like, let's say I'm not having a very good time. So what I would do, I try to look for something that does feel good. Maybe his arm touching my leg at this time feels good, or his like breath on my leg, or something I would say like, oh, this feels good. And I want you to move to the left. I want you to suck a little less. I want to, right? So to be very clear what I want, and make sure that I don't criticize, that I don't say that like, oh, you're doing it in a horrible way, do this, right? Instead of saying that what doesn't feel good, really looking for what does feel good, and then adjusting what wasn't working. And then when it does work, like, keep adjusting, don't settle, like, oh no, go more to the right, yeah, a little less of your lips, more tongue or less tongue, go down, like lower, go higher, right? And then when it does feel good, then I will be like really acknowledging it. Oh yeah, oh my God, yes, this is it, yes, this is so good, oh my God, you're amazing, you're the best, yes.
Oh my God, listening to her right there, if you guys are not turned on, just listening to Lyuba right there, oh my goodness, I love it. Oh, that's so good. No, you're absolutely right. It's direct communication. just be direct about it. And the most important thing is, guys, don't take things as a personal hit, like you're not sufficient, and don't let your ego get in the way. You wouldn't know. There's 7 billion people on this planet. There's no way for you to know every single person's desire, likes, and preferences. And so the fun part is experimenting and getting there and figuring that out. And I love that. That was the difference in me learning about sex, later, and being like, oh, I get to ask for something. Oh, I get to drive this train. Like, this is really cool, because if you're in a partnership where you're not welcomed to express the things that you want, then that's when we need to look at your relationship and say, why do we not have what I call, everybody knows, trustspecty, trust, respect, honesty. So if you don't have trustspecty, then we've got other problems that definitely are going to show up in the bedroom, but they're going to be really prominent outside of it. But I love that you say, just tell me how to do it. And like in life, whenever you want something to change, you have to come at it with kindness and love and compassion. You never want to come at anyone saying, you suck at this isn't good. You wouldn't say that outside the bedroom. So why would we do that in the bedroom? And like you said, the more you compliment someone or encourage them, the more you're going to get out of it, right? Because you're not going to shut them down. Now, one of the things, and this is a prominent thing that's a problem, I want to ask you, because what if a partner cannot perform the normal sexual act of penetration? So say they have erectile dysfunction, or, women that get older, they have menopause, and sometimes sex is painful and there's not enough lubrication. What would you do to help couples that are having trouble in those physiological areas?
Like there is, even before going, like sometimes there is medical reason that person can't have erection, right? Or it is like it is painful, and medically the person can't have anything in, right? But before even going there, so many people, so many men, when they get older it's more, but no matter age, struggle with erection. And so what happens, that there is so much pressure on the penis, that penis has to perform. And so a lot of times, like with women, I wonder if you would agree with me, Maureen, that like it happens, it goes in waves. Like sometimes I feel like so turned on, and then a little thing happened, like maybe my partner like stepped on my arm, or like pulled my hair accidentally, or something, or a breath, or a thought came, and I lose that turn on, and then it's gone, and it takes time to go back. But then for women, it's not visual, right? Like you don't see women lose an erection. And for women, it's a different problem, that a lot of times what I come across with women, that even when I don't feel like it, I still have it for duty, or look good, right? So like I have this number one ground rule, that don't spread your legs unless your pussy is hungry. And that's just because I betrayed her so much in my life when I just go for it, and like my vagina became numb because it was constantly, like she's like this working machine. But then when I learned, only when she's hungry, it's not my obligation, it's not my duty. My partner has left hand and right hand, they could help themselves. And only, right, like then I feel more, then I want to have sex more, right, when I only do it when my pussy is hungry. But going back to penis, that erection, right, that there is like so much, when he loses erection, then a woman thinks, he's not into me, right? Like, so woman is getting, if it's heterosexual, right, like getting upset. Then he thinks that, oh my God, I'm not performing. So a lot of things happening. So when we remove pressure, when we say like, we don't need penis, like, let's have other things. Let's play. There is so much. I usually say that penetration is the cherry on the cake. It's like 5% of 95 of what can be done when we talk about sex, there is like this, the energy, feeling that, the touch, the looking in the eyes, the just like having that like living core desire, just like being those like biting and kissing and like animals losing, each other in that moment. That like so much of it that I learned that is sex for me. And penetration is nice to have it. Like I don't like a lot of penetration. I'd rather have other things. I'd rather partner like go down on me and just look in my eyes and tell how much he loves me, and kissing. Oh my God, kissing. So many couples, when they live for a while, they stop kissing. They just have sex without kissing. What the hell? Kissing is the most amazing thing. Like I would give this exercise that like for a couple that they've been together for a while, just have clothes on like teenagers and just kiss for an hour, just make out and have fun with it, and have that like restraint that we can't go into genitals, right? And this is, in those times, this is when erection comes back a lot of times, when we remove pressure from the penis. We say penis doesn't matter, or not that penis doesn't matter, that's wrong. Penis matters, erection doesn't matter. That soft penis is so much fun to play with. Nice. Like I am not good with deep throating. Like I have this gag reflex that I can take, penis deeply in my throat. When penis is small, it all goes in my mouth. It's just so much fun, right? So just like enjoying penis, whatever state it is, and then like letting it relax. Same with vaginal pain, with like menopause. I work with women. I heard from so many women that after menopause, sex is better. Sex is getting better. Someone who is 65 years old will say, I'm having the best sex of my life. So I hear that women start having ejaculation. They never ejaculated. They start having squirting after menopause, or orgasm gets more intense, like more colorful. So I feel like a lot of times, let's say as a woman, if I state how I was, that sex is not for women, right? And if I kind of struggled with it, then menopause gives that excuse that like, okay, now I have a legit reason not to have it anymore.
True. Very psychological. A lot of it, like what you're saying, psychological with a man thinking the expectation on the penis is if that is not hard, then I'm not going to please. And then I feel insecure and bad about myself. And same with a woman, I'm in menopause. And what we're hearing, listeners, is it's accepting and accommodating. There's so many different ways around everything, and it can be just as pleasurable. What's funny is, to share a little bit of mine, is I always felt that pressure, in my first marriage. And of course, it was a very toxic relationship. And with my husband now, it's fun. Like we can crack up in the middle of sex and still be completely turned on. Or my husband has really strong hands, and sometimes he's like bruise it. He'll like, and I'll be like, you're bruising me, and he's not offended by it. We laugh about stuff during it. And I think for me, that was the key to realizing that I am with, the most wonderful partner sexually as well as in the rest of my life, was the fact that it's always quality over quantity. And we don't care how many times, but we know that every single time it is earth shaking, and that it's fun. No matter what happens, it's fun. Whether he can finish, whether I can finish, whether we're both exhausted. He went to the gym and it was leg day and he can't keep going, then I flip over. It's really being open and just loving and have fun with it. Take the pressure out, guys, and listen to everything that Lyuba is saying, because it's magical. And I love everything about you and all that you are doing, because this is such an important part of living this life as a human. This is such a natural thing, and we have to stop judging ourselves. and shaming each other, and just understand this is just as natural as eating and sleeping. This is something that we have as a need emotionally, mentally, and physically. In my opinion, I think sex is like right up there with needing to eat. I just think without it, we lose a lot of who we are, because it's, I had heard once from I love Abraham Hicks.
Yes.
One of the things that she says is that it is like when you have sex, it's the closest you are to spirit, because you're in such a pure, unfiltered state. And if we would look at sex that way from now on, and intimacy as I am closest to spirit when I'm that free and I allow myself to be that free and open and sharing with my partner or with myself. What do you think?
Yeah, and see, I totally agree with that. And it's important that you're having this sexual energy. That's what you're talking about, right? When you are having fun with it and you really connecting and enjoying. And if you don't have partner, you can have it with yourself. Like people who are single, like I can have this sexual energy, like to feel turned on in my body and feel alive. And I notice then my life is more alive. Like I'm excited about life. I am not dragging my food. It's like turned on in life. Like when I'm turned on in my body, I'm turned on in life, right? I feel I want to live. I feel that I can't explain it, but it feels so good, right? And then when people just rub genitals, they call that sex, then you're not closer to spirit. Then it's just rubbing genitals. Then it's not what we are talking about. And that's important to distinguish it, right? So if you feel like, you know what, my sex is more like rubbing genitals, do something about it, because sex is a very powerful, transformative, this amazing experience. And there is way, I believe, for every person to get there. You can find online stuff, you can go work with someone like Maureen or me, you can take a workshop, like you can find ways how to bring that.
Yes, I think when sex is unfulfilling, the missing ingredient is connection. When you're not connected to self, or you're not connected to the person. And of course, there's also just physical outlets that you and someone that you don't know, or someone that you just, you need that outlet, but that's different from what we're talking about. When it comes to intimacy, connection is the piece that brings you to that highest level of pleasure and feeling good about yourself. And I know when I was single, I totally know what you're saying. I felt it was weird because I would go out into the world and feel more attractive and feel more confident. And when I did that, it was like I attracted people that I wanted to engage with. So it's this whole vibration thing where you say, I love that you said that. So single, married, whatever, as long as it's healthy and not harmful to anybody else, what you do is for you and to enhance this, I think, experience here.
Yeah. And I agree with you on the connection point. And I want to add again that like people are so different. Some people come to my office that they have connection. They feel like the best, like the closest souls, the best friends, but the desire to turn on is not there, right? And so then that's something that can be addressed, that maybe there is shame, maybe there is trauma that gets in the way, or maybe people didn't discover that core desire, that like what really turns me on. Maybe they just never tried good sex in their life, and there are ways to discover it, right?
Yeah. And upbringing has a lot to do with how you view sex. That is such a powerful thing that we carry into adulthood and beyond. It's, if it wasn't discussed in your home, if you didn't have these open conversations, it was something that I determined when I raised my children to be different at, was to have more open conversations where there was no shame involved, where it was, you know what, I'm a safe place for you guys if you have any questions, because the household, and that was the generation, they just didn't talk about it. It wasn't natural to talk about that stuff. And so I ended up getting married very young, and I remember I had no clue I was a virgin. So I had no idea about sex. So it was something with my children that I wanted them to be able to ask anything about it, that they never had to be shameful about their body. I never wanted them to, and I don't want to embarrass my son, but having two daughters and then a boy, it was very different. And 12, 13-year-old boys tend to explore themselves in the shower or wherever. And I knew this. And he was very conservative and didn't want to talk about it, but I knew it. And so I would provide things on the bedside table and just kind of keep track to make sure that, it was, I didn't want him to be shamed. I wanted him to know it's okay. It's totally natural. Do that. But if you don't want to talk about it because I don't want to embarrass or shame you, that's okay too. And so I just think with our children in this now new energy field in this new generation, let's make sure that we allow them to explore and that we don't shame them and that we let them understand their bodies are gifts and they're beautiful gifts for them and them alone. So
and what you're describing is so beautiful that it just really struck me when I heard you can't teach kids. You can only when you embrace it, they learn from you. So it's not what you tell them, it's how you are with sex. So you doing your work and being accepting and removing shame and like really seeing it as a good scene, like they can read us, they can feel us, they like you can read the whole lecture, but if you feel a tiny bit of shame, the kid will spot that and they will take that shame on, right? So you sound like a mama who sex positive, and then whatever you do, it just flows with that positivity, right?
Yeah, because I didn't want them to carry things over the way I had and then settle for a partner that I felt shamed by, or I felt I had a duty to do and not, that I wasn't allowed to have any pleasure in any of that. So I never wanted, that to carry on with my children. And as we wrap up, so tell us where to find you for coaching or anything else you have going on. And then I have one last question as we wrap up. So where do we find you, beautiful Lyuba?
Yay! So my office is in San Diego and I work on Zoom. And it's fascinating what can happen online. That the practice that I use for my coaching somatica method, which is experiential, meaning that I am in the experience. So we run sexual energy, we have emotions together. If it's a couple, the couple do exercises with each other. But if person comes as individual, I do exercises with them. And we use touch if it's in person. If it's on Zoom, we really do it energetically wise and like with all the eye contact and communication. And we have boundaries, so we don't get naked, we don't touch genitals, kiss on the lips. And so within those boundaries, it's like a lab. It's a lab where you come and you experience. So instead of you reading or hearing, you come out of a session like experiencing stuff and really like, if something is not working or something feels awkward, we are in the session in a safe place, we experience it. And so it's profound things are happening. And I'm just so blessed, that I can be a vehicle to help people to go through these things. And it's like, I said that it's not a therapy, it's coaching, right? I have number of tools that I just share and we try them on, and what works for you, you just walk away with those tools. So it's all about enhancing, enriching sex and relationship life. And so how to find me, my website, lyubavenable.com, which you will have listed under the episode, right? And you can just schedule, I offer free 15-minute call. So I usually like to talk to a person before we start working, that we understand that it's a good match, that what you are looking for, that I can like really serve you. And just like schedule a call, maybe you don't want to have a session, but like you're curious about something. So I'm happy to talk. And my mission is to, like help change our attitude towards sex and have relationships just thrive and flow. So yeah.
She is magical, listeners. She's just magical. She reminds me of the actress in Virgin River on Netflix. If any of you have seen it, that's who you absolutely remind me of. And just the lightness of your aura and your beauty that you're bringing to the world. It just, I see you. I see this glowing light with you. You're just fantastic. And I knew we would be aligned, and I just knew synchronicities were at play. So as we wrap up, I always ask my listeners, because everything we talk about is kind of heavy, so I like to lighten it up. I have a little segment I call That Tastes Funny. And that is where I want to know what you eat that's weird or unusual, or something that people eat that you find weird or unusual.
It's fascinating because I'm a big fan of beets.
Oh,
do you like beets?
I do not. I think they taste like dirt, but I love that.
So I cook borscht. I'm from Ukraine originally, so I cook borscht with beets, and then I like to boil them and to bake them. And recently my friend discovered a recipe cookies with beets. So that's the weirdest thing I ever tried, but I loved it. I
lived in Germany for 4 years, and I remember we lived with a family, and then they had Oma and Opa who lived there too, and they made spargel, which is spargel, which is like white asparagus basically. But then they made like this oxtail with beets and purple cabbage, and it was delicious. So I think if it was cooked in something that I love, like anything German, my background is German Irish, so anything like that, I think I could get on board with the beets. But that's my first beets. That's my first beets answer. And of course, she's wearing a shirt that's the color of beets. And
here you go.
And her face is beet red. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I love that. Thank you for answering that. And with that, listeners, Lyuba's gonna hang in with me so we can talk a little bit afterwards. But I'm gonna wrap it up today just saying I hope you got a lot of really good, raw, authentic information. And it's such a pleasure to have people in the world like Lyuba that can help you overcome any of those shames and any of those misconceptions about sexuality and yourself and your intimacy that maybe it's time to let go of. And her coaching sounds absolutely amazing. I had goosebumps when she was describing it. I was holding my breath. So definitely reach out to her. I will have her website on the show notes. So with that, I'm going to let you guys have a fantastic day, evening, morning, whichever you're listening. And I love you so much. If you need any relationship coaching, confidence coaching, business coaching, any kind of life coaching, I am available at lifecoachmaureen.com. And let's see, the books. My brand new children's book, My Dog Bexley is Just Like Me, teaches the little children how emotions and feelings and mindfulness is a good thing by watching their pets. And dogs are the most enlightened, beautiful creatures that show us how to live life to the fullest. My other 2 books, My Dog is More Enlightened Than I Am, and My Dog is My Relationship Coach, has a lot of the same topics and subjects we were talking about today with Lyuba when it comes to the relationships and how to enhance and have the healthiest relationships and sexual partners. And so those are all on Amazon. And last but not least, we do have our doggy boutique where we have some healthy homemade gifts and fun stuff, apparel for your puppies. We make our own treats. We have a new product out. So you'll have to go check all of that out. That's at mydogiseverything.net. So with that, thank you all for being here. Thank my beautiful, beautiful Lyuba, and we will see you all next week. And until then, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of those furry babies. Please adopt and do not shop. Love you all.
Thank you for tuning in to the I Never Knew podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring and educational, please be sure to follow, subscribe, and spread the word. The more people that join the Inc. community, the more it can develop and influence others as we work together for a healthier and brighter future. Until next time.